Garden tour, May 7th, 2023. So ignore the primrose, I just put it there as a placeholder because I wanted it out of the green stalk. Sweet peas don't look to be doing very well. They haven't grown very much in the last couple weeks, but it'll be warm this week, so hopefully they'll do better, although I thought they were a cool weather flower. The astilbe looks great. The baptisia is false indigo is getting ready to bloom. And then I have zinnia, I believe lemon profusion planted along the border. And I just think it's too far back. And the hostas are shading them, so not sure they'll do well. But I also have asters dotted in and around the garden, and the asters seem to be doing really, really well. They're like one of the few seedlings that have really taken off. So you can see there's another one doing really well. The evening primrose is such a bully. I started pulling some of it out yesterday. Really should have waited for it to bloom, but it was interfering with some of my other plants. But I really need to keep it in check. And this little hosta, I need to move to a new location because you just can't see it. There's the phlox that turns out to have been a bleeding heart bare root, so I need to move that today. The broccoli, not doing well. But you can see that this evening primrose, oh wait, there's a bleeding heart, and then there's a bleeding heart. Maybe I'll just leave them because next year they should come up sooner. Maybe I'll leave them. The alliums need to be relocated. They didn't come up soon enough to get above the hostas. This phlox, I think, got trampled. Either me or the damn squirrels. And you can see this black-eyed Susan is gonna be suffocated by the primrose. So as soon as the primrose flowers, I will thin it out. There's a phlox back there, and an aster, and the Joe Pye weed. You can see that bleeding heart. Maybe it might be in a good location. I'll leave it for now. The phlox are really taking forever, but they are a warm flower, warm season flower. So I transplanted a bunch of the evening primrose over here. Again, probably should have waited for them to flower, but just couldn't deal with them. Hold on. It's a bird. I don't know if you can see the little birdie. Two birds. Okay. Back to the garden. So that is not a bleeding heart. That might be a phlox. Or it could be an evening primrose. In any case, it's not a bleeding heart. And then I think there are some remnants of the anemone that I moved. I must have left some root, so there's a little bit of an anemone in there. Nothing developed here, so I need to fill that hole. But the hosta, fern, and lily of the valley garden is looking nice. Twin leaf, random plant, but I really liked it this spring, so maybe as it gets bigger it'll be more impressive. But it looks really nice. I think I might put some more Japanese painted ferns in this area. The coral bells just did not do well. The bigger ones did, but the darker ones, but the light colored ones didn't do well at all. Sweet woodruff I need to move, and it didn't multiply like I thought it would. But here is a couple of ferns that I ordered from American Meadows, I think. And then this is a sweet site. I need to come back and take a picture of that. I need to move that hosta because I really love it, or I guess I could move the wood pile. So I really need to buy more Brunnera because it's doing really well. I did lose one, I think, over the winter or last summer, but it's doing really well. It's just beautiful, and it flowers for a good long time. Forget what the name of that bush is. Anyways, I removed one. I need to probably remove this one. It's just not doing anything. And this is my iris garden with the goddamn daffodils that never bloomed. Excuse my language. I think that's a comfrey, and I don't know how it got there. But if it is a comfrey, I'll move it. But this should look really pretty when the irises bloom. If they bloom, I divided them, but they're really struggling to come back. That's where I planted all the impatiens seeds, and then the squirrels had their way with the pot. But it'll look pretty when it's all filled in. So you can see the Brunnera just looks really pretty back there with the bleeding heart. And the ferns. I did lose this fern, or it's struggling to come back. I may take that back to Merrifield Garden Center, because there's no reason why it should have died. And this fern probably could go in its spot because it's hidden back there. All my hellebore babies underneath the hellebores that are still flowering, and the babies that I already pulled up. But I think I'm going to leave all those babies and see if anything happens, like bigger plants that I can dig out next spring. Oh wow, look at that little flower. That must be a baby hellebore. I totally missed that this spring. That's beautiful. And then you don't really see it unless you come over here, but this sedum is kind of nice. I just need to weed all of that back there. Gotta vacuum the pool. So my holy basil in 2 pots with the alyssum that I grew from seed, and rosemary. And the green stalk's doing pretty good. Not like Jessica's, but it's doing pretty good. And then those hostas definitely need to divide and maybe dig them out and put them somewhere else and put smaller hostas in there, because those just look a little overgrown. Okay, so the clematis is loving its life, and I won't have to cut it back this year, so it should be completely bloomed out next year. These Pyrus japonicas have, I think, spider mites, and it's infected all 4 bushes, so probably going to need to dig those out if treating them doesn't work. But you can see all the asters dotted in and around there. Not really sure if I planted them in the right places, but this is a learning year. I need to plant some more anemones in and around there, because they are doing really well in this spot. The little white ones aren't doing as well, so maybe go buy some more of those pink ones. And then the beard's tongue is really getting big, so I probably need to stake it, although I've used all my stakes for the dahlias. But you can see that I planted some dahlias in and around there, so that in the summer, when none of this other stuff is blooming, the dahlias will fill in that space. But in the meantime, I probably need to put something around the base of the Rose of Sharon tree, which I think I'm gonna, I don't know if I can dig it out, but I feel like I want to put a peach tree in that spot. I really don't like the Rose of Sharon if it's going to be covered with Japanese beetles every year. But along the border you can see the geraniums, the hardy geraniums. Cranesbill is filling in nicely, and in front of that I have the Zinnia Zahara. It's a raspberry color, so that should look pretty with the color of the geranium. Then I have the crocuses dotted around in there that are die back soon, and then Keith gave me the turtle heads, so I put them right there. Hope they're in the right spot. The Amsonia looks really pretty when it's all bloomed out, but then it gets kind of crazy looking, so I'm really hoping the dahlias will be tall and sort of detract from the Amsonia. I got to get rid of the pansies, but it's hard to pull them when they're still doing well. Here's the Gomphrena along the front of this border, but I didn't realize how big the ferns were going to get, so hopefully the Gomphrena can do its thing. And then I'm going to plant my 2 new lungworts. I think I'm going to plant them under, one right there and then one to the right of it, to fill in that spot. I think that'll be a nice addition. I was trying to put them I was trying to put both of them around the other lungwort. That's a more solid color, but I couldn't quite find the room with all the other things I planted. And I think I can divide that one this fall. So, and then you can see the clematis that I bought. It's not growing at all, so hopefully next year it does something. It had a beautiful flower, but right now it looks like a dead weed. I think that this hydrangea got a little frostbitten or damaged by the cold. So, not sure it's going to do anything. Looks pretty rough right now. Don't understand why the Japanese painted ferns, the 8 of them are the light green, and the one in the back is the really beautiful color. I mean, they're both beautiful, but it's weird that it doesn't match. These hydrangeas look good in the spring, and then they get a disease, a fungal disease, so I don't know what to do about these. They're just not, it's too humid and moist. And then my swamp milkweed, looking good. And then I put a grass here. Totally forgot I did that. But it should get big and maybe add some movement and cover that Xfinity box. Here's my mugwort, the bully that it is. Need to probably keep it in check. But I think that's a good spot for it because it's out of the way. And then I can just harvest it for medicinal use. And I don't know what that is. I swear that looks, I'm gonna have to come back and check that out. So I didn't like this dianthus at all, so I moved it over here instead of throwing it away, and I really like it. And one of them died, so maybe I'll divide this one in the fall and fill in that spot over there. But I really like it, so I think that was a good move. An accidental one, but a good one. So the lamb's ear also did well when I divided it, and I'm gonna plant more. And then apparently I moved a comfrey over here, and it's gonna get really big, so it's probably gonna overtake that lamb's ear, but for right now it's about to flower. And it's pretty, and the bees love it. So the rhododendron, a tree fell on it, so it's struggling and it looks spindly, and I don't know what to do about it, but it is what it is. It has beautiful blooms. I can't dig it up. I'm not going to cut it down. So maybe I just plant something back in there that will be tall and flower like a dahlia. Maybe one of the dahlias that I potted to pre-sprout, I could just dig a hole and put it in there, and it'll fill in that ugly mess. So the alliums, I don't know if it's that it was just a mild, dry winter, but they just don't look good at all. So, not happy with them, and I think I want to thin them out after they're done blooming and just sort of dot them around the yard so that it's not like a mass planting, because like tulips look good in a mass planting, but I think alliums need to just be dotted around the yard. Again, I have a broccoli. This broccoli is doing well. Totally forgot I planted it. I have a lavender and garlic dotted around. Need to pull the pansies. But back in here, I have dahlias. So I think what I'll do is after the alliums are done blooming and I dig them up, I'll put the potted dahlias over in this area. Those broccolis aren't really doing much, but they're just decoys. I don't know what I mean by decoys other than maybe the pests will find them and leave the other ones in my vegetable garden alone. Have a couple more lavenders. I think. Do I have a lavender over here? No. So there's one of my new roses. And there's the other one. I think they'll look good here when I extend the bed forward a little bit this fall. Or spring. Who knows? But look at that lamb's ear. So I have like 4 or 5 lamb's ears. Yeah, 5. There's one in the other garden that was 1 lamb's ear last year. It's ridiculous. I don't know why I bought 3 more when I should have just waited and divided these. They're crazy. So these tulips were very pretty. They were the Queen of the Night, but those tulips were orange. And I think if I had mixed them with the Queen of the Night instead of color blocking, they would have been pretty. So I need to dig those and those and mix them so that they look good together when they come up. So back there I have an echinacea that I planted. Oh my God, you can see all the weeds back there. Wood chips did nothing to suppress the weeds. I need to get back in there. That rosemary is from last year that I overwintered. It just doesn't look like it came back. So I moved it here so I could put a new one in its spot in the vegetable garden. But here are my tomatoes. Trying out grow bags. Tomato cages aren't big enough to really support them, so I don't know what I'm going to do when it actually, I need to figure something out now. Maybe hang a string from the tall cages and then let that kind of climb up the string. I'll figure it out. In this garden, I have a bunch of different flowers planted. Some chamomile. I don't know what some of it is. I have my lemon balm in various places in the yard. And I have some celosia dotted around. That should be really tall, and I can just cut from it for the flower arrangements. There's another mugwort. Look at all those weeds. Okay, so I think I have nasturtium in that. I'm going to dig up some of this, cut up some of the spinach, and when the spinach dies, I'll plant some more nasturtium. My ranunculus, the squirrels have really done a number on them, but I think they'll be fine. They'll flower. When they die back, I'll dig up the corms and then I can plant like a late crop in here. Maybe green beans. Hold on. There is a bird a robin taking a bath in the other bath. So cute. Okay, back to the garden. So my 2 sages are doing well. I have garlic planted everywhere. You can see the garlic that I planted in the spring is smaller than the big garlic. I have peas. They're getting pretty tall, but I think I planted them too late because I think they're supposed to be like ready to pick soon, but oh well. I have pole beans in that one that I hope to train to go up the cattle panel. My thyme, it's really old. Probably wasn't organic soil, so it's just there. It's been there. It's been in that pot for years. That is a mystery tomato because a couple of the, half a dozen of the tomato plants I forgot to label. So that's a mystery. It'll be fun to see what it is. A couple of tomatoes. And then if I go to this end and look at this garden, lettuce is finally taking off, so I'll be having a salad for lunch. Those are the onions that I started from little sets, or onion bulbs. They're doing well. The bunching onions are finally sprouting and doing, I guess they're doing well, but I probably could have put them in a shadier spot. But you can see some of the violets are coming in, pain in the butt. Oh, and I do have lettuce seeds in and around. So when this lettuce is done, hopefully that other lettuce, if it's not too hot, but I have plenty of lettuce seeds, so why not? The sorrel looks good. I'll put some of that in my salad to see what it tastes like. I don't think I've ever had it. Some of the spinach is being eaten, so I need to get those damn slug traps out. Some of the spinach didn't do well at all, so I'll try again in the fall. But you can see the spinach is tattered, so I need to cut it, and I guess I'll eat the slug-eaten spinach. The dough looks good. And then the kale is finally taking off. I don't know why I didn't start off better, but maybe I'll get them bigger in the house before transplanting them next spring, or in the fall too. These are the onions I did from seed, and they're actually, I mean, they're doing better. They're not great, but they're doing better than the ones that died in the landscape. The carrots are pretty slow. They're not really doing well. I don't know why I have trouble with some crops. Cucumbers that I bought, they just look terrible. I think it was just too cold and wet when I planted them, so I put some cucumber seeds in behind them. So if they don't survive, I can have cucumbers. Keith will be happy. And then the garlic I planted last fall should come out in a few weeks, so it'll free up some. It'll just look better once the garlic is out, and then you can see more peas behind them. And then on this side, I do have another rosemary, my lemon verbena, and then I have, I think, parsley and cilantro if the birds don't attack it. My arugula is doing good. I planted a couple tomatoes and some basil. It's gonna get cold again, so I'm gonna have to protect that basil. Hello, my little bird friend. That's my friendly robin that doesn't seem to mind me. Okay, so my strawberries are starting to fruit, almost ripe. And then I have green things in here that are starting to sprout. And I moved my potatoes to help shade some of the spinach and the ranunculus, so there are my potatoes. There's the new rosemary that I bought from Maryfield. My feverfew looks very yellow, so I'm not sure. I might have to bring out some fertilizer, some fish emulsion. And then that is garlic, I believe, not onions. So I'm not really going to have a lot of onions. The beets, I don't know if I drowned the seedlings, but they didn't do anything, and it's too late now, so I'm just going to fix that bed and plant some green beans, I think. If green beans are a companion with potatoes, I gotta check, because beets aren't, and didn't realize that. But the beets are probably almost ready to pull. And the broccoli is doing well under the insect netting, some doing better than others. There's a hyssop in the middle of my ranunculus. The ranunculus is, some of them are starting to bud. Some of the plants didn't do all that great. Potatoes are doing well. And then This is a hodgepodge. Oh, there's the morning glories back there. They're really not doing much. So I have a raspberry plant cane with a sunflower behind it along the fence. One of the raspberries died, so I don't know if this is a red raspberry or a gold raspberry. And then I just have a bunch of different flowers, and there's that baptisia that I hacked back and transplanted like 3 times last summer, so I'm surprised it came back. Hi, little guy. I did put netting up for the flowers on the right side of that bed, but I'm just gonna see if the ones along the fence line I can just support with stakes. So you can see these flowers, those are bachelor buttons, and then there's some zinnia and cosmos also that will come up in there. But yeah, I guess I'll just see if the unsupported ones grow. I have grasses along the back. Probably wasn't a smart idea to put grasses back there. So when they get a little bigger, maybe I'll dig them up and put them in, strategically place them in the garden. My green beans, I need to thin them, but I was waiting for them to get more leaves. Like you can see, some of them aren't doing well. So I will thin out the weaker ones. My mahogany splendor really hasn't grown since I planted it, but it might have been too cold. So hope I didn't ruin it by planting them too early. The sunflowers are taking off. Bunch of different wildflowers, some monarda back there, a bazillion violets. And then I transplanted some of my basil, the opal and lime, along here just to use for cut flowers or to let flower for the bees. But I have like yarrow, and I have a bunch of plants in here that I don't know if they're the appropriate size plants for there, but we'll see. So again, these onions, I started from seed. They look worse than when I planted them, so I probably will just throw some soil on top of them, just leave them there, and plant something else, like a crop of green beans. The Swiss chard didn't do well, but I got enough plants out of it, probably more than I can eat. The marigolds I probably planted out too soon all over I put them everywhere in the garden, but it was just too cold for them. So next year I'll let them grow pretty big before I transplant them. And there's the rhubarb. The slug ate the first leaf, but I put some diatomaceous earth, and it stopped it from eating it, so I need to reapply that. And then my clematis, if it's truly clematis, don't know, because nothing that I grew, I didn't keep the labels, so Lord only knows what I have growing there. And then this is where I've been putting some of the baby hostas, and then some of the little hostas that I transplanted, so I think it'll fill in nicely. The Haconocloa grasses, they're probably not going to do well. I think I probably should have just put them in the compost. And then the lily of the valley should fill in nicely here. Hopefully it doesn't take over. And then the bleeding hearts look pretty good. So I think next spring this should look really nice, but I really need to either let the violets grow so that they're pretty, or get in there and really dig them out, but I think that's probably a lost cause. And the wildflowers, it'll be interesting to see what comes up, or if the violets just choke them out. This is the rose bush that I've transplanted a number of times. It'll probably rebound. Right now it looks pretty bad. But in this area, this fall, I want to develop this area and put like a tree right here to anchor the space. My poppies that I winter sowed and then transplanted really just didn't do anything, so next year I'll just direct sow my poppies. And these bare patches are seeds. Forget what I planted. I think it's chamomile. Could be calendula. Who the hell knows what I do? I should really label better. So that nigella has just been sitting like that forever. I think that's another nigella. Hopefully it does something, but the poppies again didn't do squat. The tick seed is coming back. These will be big bushy yellow, not big bushy yellow, big mounded plants with your little yellow flowers. And there's some ranunculus in and around there. Probably not the best place to have put it. When I dig them out this summer. Dang it, I missed the little birds, the nuthatches. They were in the bird bath. But when I dig out the ranunculus to store the corms, I can plant them in a better spot next year. So these alliums look pretty good. Maybe it just takes them a while to get their full form. The comfrey looked good, but I had to hack it back because it was interfering with the dogwood. So I really need to dig that up this fall because it really isn't. It's beautiful and I love it, but it's just overtaking the garden. So I just need to maybe hack it way back. The daffodils finished blooming, and I think if I add to them this fall, it'll look good next spring around the bird bath. But the alliums, I think I just need to strategically place them, and they just, I don't know, I thought they would bloom later in the summer, not in the spring. But there are a lot of tiny little plants, flowers, and other types of filler plants, but you really can't see. I don't know if they'll thrive or they'll die, but we'll see. It's only the beginning of May. All along the front of this border I put calendula though, so a couple garlics. They look ridiculous, but hopefully they're keeping some of the pests away. Oh, this peony is doing well. I think that's the yellow one. This white peony, I dug it up and it's not doing anything, so I moved it a little closer to the surface. We'll see if it grows. If not, I just will buy a new peony and plant it there. The silver mound wormwood, Artemisia, looks really nice. I'm happy with it at the front of that border. I think this is leucogen, the snowdrops or snowflakes, and they didn't do well, but Janet thinks it's the ones she gave me, so maybe it's because I transplanted them right before they were going to bloom, so hopefully they'll come back next year. If not, I think I ordered more. So I have cosmos that are in there. I don't know what that plant is, but I think it came back from last year. I don't think I planted it this spring, so it'll be interesting to see what it is, because I think I saw it in there emerging this spring on its own. Shasta daisies are getting ready to bloom. Well, no. a couple are putting on buds. That one doesn't seem to have buds, but it'll be so pretty with the Shasta days in here. And then, I don't know what this is, I think wild garlic blooms, but don't remember planting those. The salvia is all along the border, so when that takes off, it'll be nice. Bellflowers, 4 of the 5 came back, so they'll be pretty in and around the Shasta daisies. And then I have more Shasta daisies planted along there. The cosmos might get really tall, and they're probably not good planted as individual plants, so that was probably not a smart move. Lesson learned. We'll see what happens. I have pincushions all along the front, and holy moly, that one's already blooming. Those alliums, they're only 4. No, they're 5. I think that's a nice grouping. I think that'll be pretty. The Schubertii. Anyways, I think that'll be pretty. So that Baptisia is one of the other. It's the lemon one. I think it's like a lemon pink, yellow pink. It'll be pretty. It'll get pretty big. So it'll maybe, cover the dead alliums once they're gone. Oh, and that's lemon balm that I moved last year. My yarrow back there. Some of it I bought from one I bought from Maryfield, and some I think I transplanted from Maine. And then there's another echinacea. And then you can see those alliums are like the perfect match for the comfrey flower. Like, I couldn't have done a better job of matching. There's my St. John's wort. It should flower this year. I'm going to have to see how to prune it, because I didn't think it was going to get so tall and spindly. I thought it would be more like a bush. And then I have, you can see all the stakes. I have lots of dahlias planted around here. Some didn't come up, so I can use the potted ones to fill in. And one lavender died, which is that spot, bare spot, so I put stepping stones. So that lavender looks great. Just need to keep it really cut back. And there's the original lavender. It, half of it died, but it still looks good. The hostas that I transplanted over there. And there's my anise hyssop. Can't wait to harvest that. And more mugwort. So I really need to dig up this mugwort and maybe put it in a part of the garden I don't use, like back there by the corner of the garden. And some more flowers. I think these are all pincushion, and I'm not sure they're getting enough sun with the bench here, but we'll see. I might move the bench out a little bit. But hostas. And then there's my mullein that's going to bloom this year. It looks so nice this spring. It will be ugly when it blooms, but I will pick those flowers. There's the rose of Sharon that I transplanted from a seedling. It's not bad for a little tiny seed. And my phlox is getting ready to die back, and I will maybe divide it, plant it all along here. So I don't remember if those are pincushions or what those plants are that I planted. Another rose of Sharon, and then I think I planted some bulbs in here that should, starting to come up. So yeah, I did plant some bulbs. That should fill in that spot. Shasta daisy that grew from seed. My skullcap, I think that'll be a nice spot for it, although the Shasta daisy is a little too close. My Tithonias are in these pots, seeing if they'll rebound. I think they got a little cold. There are 2 agastaches, purple I believe, or pink, I can't remember. Some more Shasta daisies. And there's my catnip. Another Shasta daisy. And I did plant some hellebore, but I think there's only one. So I need to maybe get some more hellebores. Oh look, rosebud, chewed right off. God damn. Pain in the ass, pests. And my rose bush. Can't remember what the heck I planted in there, but we'll see. It'll be a surprise. It might be alyssum. And then the sedum is looking great, so I want to try to get some root cuttings. You can see I tried to move some along there. And then the sedum, I need to move that. It's going to get choked out. There's my Russian sage. Oops. There's my Russian sage that always takes over this spot. Really don't like it. I mean, I like the plant, I just don't like what it does in this spot. Maybe I'll get a denim and lace so that it's all upright and not sprawling. And then that hosta will probably be overtaken by the Russian sage. And I need to, those are starting to fizzle, so I need to put something prettier in there. This azalea looked really pretty this year, but I need to trim it way back after it flowers. And there's my friend Robin. My blueberry bush getting big. Don't know how much longer I can keep it in the spot, but I really don't know where I'd put it in the garden. Those pansies are doing quite well, so I'll leave them. Put violas in there, I think, or maybe, I don't know what I planted in there, so that when Jessica comes gets this tree, she'll have pretty flowers, if they last. And then there are all the dahlias that I need to plant. The 4 in the front here never sprouted. I'll give them another week of warm weather, and then if they don't sprout, it's because the tubers were no good. But that lasagna pot was a epic failure. And that concludes my garden tour. Right, Mrs. Robin?